Back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. Last night, Alden, it was Miguel Cotto over Shane Mosley. As you predicted, Cotto was a decision winner. First of all, what's your views on the fight? And secondly, what's next for Miguel Cotto?
It was just unfortunate that the last 3-4 rounds of the fight resulted in somewhat of a boring fight. Cotto admittedly cruised the last 3 or 4 rounds. Could have been because he was hurt by something. It could have been because Shane Mosley finally decided to put forward what I think was an advantage in power on Cotto. He started to chase Cotto around. But other than that, it was a great performance by Miguel Cotto. He fought on the outside brilliantly. He showed that he could use his technique to outwit a veteran like Shane Mosley. And Shane Mosley fought a good fight, definitely. He just didn't do enough in the late rounds to press a victory, although I scored the fight even.
Do you think Shane Mosley in 2001, the Mosley that fought De La Hoya the first time, do you think that Mosley would have beaten Cotto last night?
Yes, I think he would have beaten Cotto. He had a little more life in his punches, and he seemed a little reluctant to get off at times, especially in the late rounds when Cotto didn't throw anything in the last round at all, and Mosley had a perfect opportunity to win the round big, although I thought he won at least 3 of the last 4 rounds.
What did you finally, what was your scorecard on that fight?
No, it was a draw.
You thought it was a draw? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be a rematch, or do you think Cotto should go on to something new?
I'd love to say a rematch, but I don't think Shane Mosley would like to do it again, as expressed in the post-fight interview. But I'd love to see Cotto take on the rest of the welterweight division. I mean, yeah?
Does that include De La Hoya's expected fight in May?
I think that's his most logical step. De La Hoya's got an upcoming fight scheduled in May, and Miguel Cotto not only would be making the best financial decision of his whole career, but I think he'd also win the fight as well in dominant fashion.
Very good. Okay, and on the undercard, there was Joel Casamayor winning a controversial decision over Santa Cruz. Does Casamayor have anything left after that performance?
Well, I mean, his whole career he was a runner, but he was able to counter guys on the way in, and tonight, not only was he missing some counter punches while Santa Cruz rushed in, but he wasn't even throwing them. He turned the fight into a ugly clinch fest, and it's the kind of fight that turns you away from a guy probably for the rest of their career.
He didn't win any fans last night, did he?
No.
Okay, what about Margarito's blowout of Golden Johnson? Do you think Margarito's back on track?
Yeah, that was exactly the fight he needed, to just blast out a veteran who's stood in there with the best for rounds like Shane Mosley. I mean, he went rounds with the dominant, spectacular lightweight Shane Mosley. I think he was stopped in, the late rounds about against Sugar Shane. So he's taken a lot of big punches in his career, and not a lot of fighters, if anyone, has blasted him out in the first round. I think Margarito's the first fighter maybe to stop him in the first round.
Okay. Now moving to the other side of the ocean, it was Carl Froch knocking out, or TKO 5 of Robin Reed. Reed refused to come out for the 6th round. Carl Froch, have you seen him? If so, would he give Calzaghe a tough battle, assuming that Calzaghe ever wants to meet the young, undefeated contender? What do you think of Carl Froch?
I've read about him. I've seen him maybe once or twice on the computer, but only little clips of him. He's a tremendous, ferocious puncher, and he has that mentality that he goes in to knock you out. He's somewhat limited boxing skills, but he has a great left hook, great all-around boxing skill, and he's racking up victories against veterans that suggest that he's ready for a big fight. Okay. Probably not Calzaghe right now, but Lucien Butte would be right on track.
Okay, and also in Europe, it was David Haye surprisingly stopping Jean-Paul Mamek. Was it a surprise to you anyway?
No, I mean, I was expecting Mamek to have his way in the early rounds, but Mumek is one of the worst conditioned fighters in the world today. I mean, amid his spectacular physique, I was expecting him to wear down. His only chance in that fight was to put Hay out early, and Hay showed guts in surviving the early onslaught of Mumek, but his chin's not going to hold up too well at heavyweight. Hay's been knocked out earlier in his career by some veteran by the name of Carl Thompson. John Mark Mumek almost had him out, but that's not. Mumek could punch like hell, but David Hay is a good puncher, but he's not a great chin fighter, and that's really going to show at heavyweight.
Okay. And now moving on to some upcoming fights. First of all, Andre Ward is back in action on Showtime this Friday. He's facing Roger Nebuchadnezzar Cantrell, 12-0, 8 by KO. Cantrell stopped Jonathan Korn in 4 rounds last time out. Do you think he gives Andre Ward an interesting fight?
I really can't make any opinions on Cantrell, but on Ward, I really want to see him in action. He's the kind of guy that would come off an impressive victory, take 6-8 months off, or just fight one relatively unknown fighter in that span and then come back and fight another fighter. He also needs experience. He's very limited in experience, despite he turned pro in 2004 and won the Olympic medal in 2004. He's not being rushed at all, and his best victories have came against unknown fighters. And Cantrell is somewhat of an unknown fighter, so this is not really a step down, but it's not the step up that we'd want at this point of Ward's career.
Okay, speaking of 2004 Olympic team, Rock Allen is on the undercard of the Joan Guzman fight. What's your feelings on Rock Allen?
He's a strong fighter, a good in-fighter. He just, as Emmanuel Stewart stated earlier in his career, he just is having trouble with good, solid boxers, and he's definitely one of the lower-class fighters that emigrated from the 2004 Olympics. And he's not really that fun to watch, but he's definitely one to watch.
Okay. On Showtime, coming up soon, it's Nonito Donaire back in action after his devastating defeat of Vic Darchinyan. Donaire is facing once-beaten Louis Maldonado, who lost to Vic in 8 rounds a few fights back. What do you think of Donaire? Do you think he can keep the winning streak going?
Definitely against a tough veteran like Luis Maldonado. He's just a tough veteran. He takes a lot of punches, but it'd be interesting to see Donaire against a different style than Darchinyan, just to see if it wasn't a fluke, and to see his whole skill set on display against Maldonado.
Okay. Light flyweight belt holder Ivan Calderon, 29-0. He's on the undercard of the Jorge Arce fight. What do you think of Ivan Calderon?
He showed that you definitely don't need power to make it to the upper level of the sport, and he definitely has. He's fought one of the biggest punches of the lower divisions in Hugo Cazares, and he outboxed him through 12 rounds, although he was dropped, and the fight was very close, but that wasn't a surprise. Cazares is definitely one of the better fighters of the lower divisions, a tremendous puncher, and Calderon, although Cazares walked through his punches, was able to circle, slip, spin for 12 rounds and got the nod on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards.
Okay, let's review the Joan Guzman-Humberto Soto fight is coming up this week on HBO. Guzman told you, personally, that his hand was bothering him earlier this year. Assuming that the hand is 100%, what do you think of Guzman-Soto fight? What do you think the outcome's going to be?
I think it's going to be Guzman. Soto's a really strong fighter, and he could hold his own against any fighter, including a Pacquiao, Barrera. But I think the speed's going to make the difference. The speed would make a difference against any fighter today with Joan Guzman, with the exception of maybe a Pacquiao or some other fighters. Joan Guzman's quick, good fighter, good strong fighter, but he's been kind of inactive against the upper level of the sport since September of 2006, so this is going to be a big step up. And he's shown that the fighters that have got close to beating him, like Jorge Barrios are strong fighters who put a lot of pressure on him. That's exactly what Humberto Soto is, but I think he's going to walk off with a decision, does Guzman.
Okay.